I'm here today with one of my favorite electric vehicles of all time, and that being a Porsche Taycan. It's actually a 2025 Porsche Taycan 4, and I'm going to be doing my 70-mile-an-hour highway winter range test with this. I'm going to be leaving very early in the morning tomorrow to start the range test to avoid traffic, and that's why I'm here doing the intro at my house instead of where I normally do it at a DC fast charger when I charge up the vehicle to 100% right before heading out onto the highway to begin the range test. But I've been finding it more and more difficult to maintain a constant 70 miles an hour on the New Jersey Turnpike, the course that I do all my range tests. So now I'm starting to do them either late at night or very early in the morning. I'm going to start very early tomorrow morning, maybe around 3:30 a.m. and get on the Turnpike. Tomorrow is Saturday, so I don't have to worry about rush hour traffic, but I'll be halfway through the range test before we even see daylight. So we're going to do the intro here at my house, and then I'm going to get an early night's sleep tonight and be out on the road around 3:30-ish. Okay, so this is a 2025 Taycan 4, and it has a combined EPA range rating of 294 miles. And with this winter range test comes winter tires also. These are not the standard all-season tires that come on the Taycan. This model actually comes standard with 19-inch aero wheels, and the tires are all-season tires that give it the EPA range rating. But since this is a winter tire set, it's 20-inch turbo aero wheels. So they're not the most efficient wheels that you can get on the Taycan, but they're probably the second most efficient wheels. There's a lot of different tire and wheel options, but these turbo aero wheels are pretty good. Not the best, but probably the second best as far as aero goes. And the tires are the mud and snow tires. They're the Pirelli P0 tires. On the front, you get 245, 45R 20s, and on the rear it's 285 40 R20s. So the tires are going to make a big difference, I think. The winter tires have a much softer compound, so they add rolling resistance. That's why they do so well in adverse conditions, but they add rolling resistance, so it should hurt our range. We're supposed to be in the 30s, somewhere in the mid 30-degree range tomorrow, so it's not bitter cold. If I would have gotten this vehicle about 2 weeks ago here in New Jersey, we had a stretch for 3 weeks where it never even hit 32 degrees. It was in the 20s, teens, and below 0 Fahrenheit most days. But this is when I had the vehicle scheduled. It warmed up a little bit. I was hoping to get it when it was super cold to do a real winter range test, but still, you know, in the mid 30s is pretty cold. And we'll see just how well this guy does with the winter tires at temperatures at around freezing. We're going to get on the highway early in the morning. I'll check in once I'm on the road and once it gets daylight, because you know, it's not an ideal situation when I shoot inside the vehicle with some, you know, artificial lights on me in the vehicle. Really doesn't do that good of a job. So I'll probably wait to do my check-in till right around 6:20-ish a.m. when it starts to get light out. So I'll see you guys then. Let's get into it. All right, I'm out on the New Jersey Turnpike, cruising along at 70 miles an hour. And I have to say, it's just about light enough now for me to start this recording. I've been driving for about 45 minutes already. And it was really foggy this morning. I actually turned on the camera once it started to get a little bit lighter, but it was even more foggy than that before I started recording. And it was super low visibility, but it's clearing up now. We should be in good shape for this range test. And so far, the roads have been nice and mostly empty, which is why I wanted to get up at super early in the morning and do this. The traffic on the Turnpike has been getting tough lately, so it's hard to maintain constant speeds if I don't do the range tests either late at night or super early in the morning. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the range tests. I try to be very consistent with all the vehicles, so it's fair comparing vehicle to vehicle. The first thing I always do is test the vehicle's speedometer to true speed. I have a couple GPS apps that I test it with, and I want to set it at 70 miles an hour according to the GPS, not according to the vehicle. Vehicle speedometers typically run a little fast. They're allowed to do that. They can't be slow though. They can't be reporting a lower speed than what the car is actually doing, or the company will get fined, because then you'd be speeding and you didn't know you were speeding. So they err on the side of caution, and they make the speedometers go a little faster than what you're really doing. So to make it fair to all the cars, I always use my GPS apps. And here in the Taycan, I have to have the cruise control set at 72 miles an hour to be doing a true 70 miles an hour. This is the 2025 Porsche Taycan 4 with the Performance Plus battery. The Taycans have two battery options, the Performance battery and the Performance Plus battery. Performance Plus battery is the larger one. It has 105 kilowatt hour of total capacity, 97 kilowatt hour of usable capacity. But you could get the Taycan 4 with the Performance battery, and that has 89 kilowatt hour of total capacity and 82.3 kilowatt hour of usable capacity. Now this is the new Taycan. It had a refresh in 2025, and the battery got bigger. This is called the J1-2 version of the Taycan. The J1 Taycan was the one they were selling from 2020 through 2024, and that battery was a little bit smaller, so Porsche actually gave the Taycan a bigger battery. For the J1 Taycan, the Performance battery had 79.2 kilowatt hour total with 71 kilowatt hour of usable capacity. So there's about 11 more kilowatt hour of usable capacity in the Performance battery than there was in the previous version of it. And for the Performance Plus battery, it used to have a total capacity of 93.4 kilowatt hour and a usable capacity of 83.7 kilowatt hour. So the Performance Plus battery pack that I have in this Taycan 4 has about 13 kilowatt hour more than the Performance Plus battery had in the previous Taycan 4. And that should translate to a significant amount of more range. Talking about range, this version of the Taycan has a combined EPA range rating of 294 miles. But that's the combined EPA range rating. The highway EPA range rating, and this is a highway range test, it was 286 miles. So pretty close to the combined EPA range rating. That's very typical of the Taycans because they're geared for high-speed highway driving more so than many other electric vehicles. A lot of the other electric vehicles, the highway EPA range rating is much lower than the combined EPA range rating. But here with the Taycan, it's like 8-mile difference. That's nothing when you compare it to most of the other electric vehicles. So we should be able to get relatively close to that, I think, here today. This is a winter range test, and the vehicles, all electric vehicles, don't go as far in the winter as they do when it's warmer, and this does have those sticky mud and snow tires on it, so that's going to hurt them. But the Taycans usually always outperform their EPA range rating. So I think with this handicap, I probably will end up right around the EPA range rating, somewhere, I'm guessing, if I have to guess here today, around 285 to 290 miles, I think is a fair guess. But we'll see. We're not too much into it. I'm not even at the first check-in, which is at 75% state of charge. And then we'll talk about what I do to set the cars up. In addition to checking the speedometer, I also put it in the most efficient driving mode, which in the Taycan is range mode. The Taycan also allows you to adjust the suspension. I have it dropped down to the lowest setting. So we're in range mode with the suspension set at low. For the climate control, I always set the climate control somewhere around 68 to 70 degrees, whatever makes me comfortable, whether it's heat or air conditioning. I always have the vehicle set at that. That's what I have here today, and I have it set at the lowest fan setting. I'm trying not to use too much energy on climate that could be used for range, but I always make sure the vehicles have me comfortable in the cabin. I'm not going to do the range test when I'm sweating or freezing cold. I set it so I'm just barely comfortable and I'm using the minimal amount of climate control. As far as wind, we can't control the wind, but it seems like we have a good day today. Very little wind. We only have about 2 mile-an-hour wind, which is extremely minimal. If that holds out, that'll be great. The wind won't really have a big influence on the range test here today. I think that's about all we have set here. Do my normal check-ins at 75% state of charge, 50% state of charge, 25%, and then on the final drive to the charging station when we're done. And we'll see you at 75% state of charge and where we're at. Today's video is sponsored by evchargingstations.com. If you drive an electric vehicle or you're planning to, this site is packed with comprehensive charger reviews, detailed DC fast charging graphs, and the latest news from all of the fast charging networks. You'll find real-world testing, easy to understand comparison, and deep dives into how different electric vehicles actually charge. Before you buy an EV charger or plan your next road trip, make sure to bookmark evchargingstations.com and make smarter charging decisions. First check-in, we're at 75% state of charge, so 25% of the range test is over. We've gone 76 miles, so that would be tracking right around 300 miles for the range test if we were able to get the same amount in each quarter, and that very rarely happens with these range tests. The interesting thing is the vehicle's telling me we're averaging 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour consumed. Now Porsche only gives you the 10th of the percent, so it's 2.8. The reason why that's interesting is we have 97 kilowatt hour of usable capacity here, and if you multiply the 2.8 times 97, that would give you about 270 miles, and that would be if I completely drained it till it stopped. But with 76 miles gone in a quarter of the battery, that would track 300 miles. So somewhere within there, the math isn't working out. Now again, I mentioned that Porsche only gives you the 10th of the mile per kilowatt hour. Maybe it's 2.85 or 2.84. I don't know when they round up. They might not round up at all. They might not change it to 2.9 until it's 2.9. So it might be 2.89 miles per kilowatt hour. So we'll have to see how this unfolds. 300 miles would be, I'd consider it a win in the winter. It is right now 32 degrees. When I left the charger earlier, it was 27 degrees. So it was in the 20s when we started the range test, and now it's up to 32 degrees. And again, the winter tires play as big a role, I think, as the temperature, because those mud and snow Pirellis are very grippy and dramatically increases the rolling resistance. So the only other thing I want to mention that I think I forgot to mention in the last segment, in addition to doing everything that I talked about, setting up the vehicle, the range mode, the suspension, checking the speedometer, I also always set the tires to the manufacturer specified tire pressure. And in the case of this Taycan, that was 43 PSI. So the tires are all set perfectly at 43 and we're good to go. We'll check back in at 50% and we should probably be right around 150 miles. See you then. Well, we're halfway home at 50% state of charge. We have gone 148 miles. So that means in that segment we went 72 miles, 4 miles less than from 100% down to 75%. Very close though. The interesting thing is the consumption rate now has gotten a little better. We're up from the 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour in the first quarter to 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour, which was interesting because we didn't go quite as far, but the consumption rate got a little better. I mean, this is kind of where I figured we'd be at. I thought we'd be somewhere around 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So with 148 miles driven, we're still tracking close to 300 miles. I don't think we're going to get to 300 miles because, you know, with a 97 kilowatt hour usable battery pack, we'd have to average better than 3.1 miles per kilowatt hour. This isn't going to go up. It just ticked up to 2.9. It's been 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour most of the whole journey here, and it just maybe 15-20 minutes ago went up to 2.9, got a little bit better. I'm not really sure why that is. It could be the elevation here. The turnpike is relatively flat, but there's some minor elevation changes. The temperature hasn't gone up. It's still 32 degrees, the same as it was when I checked in at 75% state of charge. So it's not that, it's not the wind. We're still only at like 2 or 3 miles per hour wind, negligible amount of wind. There's a lot of fog today. It hasn't burned off. It seems like I'll drive 15-20 minutes, it's nice and clear, and then we hit another section where it's super foggy, and for 5 or 10 minutes we're driving through fog. We're getting all these fog warnings on the turnpike. The overhead lights, it's saying reduce speed. The one of them even said 45 mile an hour speed limit, but none of the other cars slowed down, so I kept going along at the speed that I need to, 70 miles an hour, to do this range test. I was worried when I saw the signs that said speed limit 45 miles an hour, fog warning, but nobody else slowed down, so I kept, stayed alert, but kept the cruise control set at 72, which is 70 miles an hour. All right, well, keep driving and check in at 25% state of charge. See you then. All right, I'm at the final check-in before we finish up, and we have gone 217 miles. So here at 25% state of charge, we've gone 217 miles, which means we went 69 miles in that last segment from 50% state of charge down to 25% state of charge. We're seeing a pattern here. In each of the quarters, we're going less than we did on the previous quarter, and for some reason that is the trend when I do Taycan range tests. It always seems like every quarter it doesn't go quite as far as the previous quarter. So we started out with 76 miles, then 72, then now 69, and the miles remaining says 62. So if that holds true, we're going to finish up with 279 miles, which is a fair finish. Now we'll might be able to squeak out a few more miles at the end. I know that Taycan does not have much of a lower end buffer, so I can't push it much beyond 0 before it just shuts down. So I'm doing my calculating now and trying to figure out which exit am I going to turn off, get around, circle back, and do my last 2 circles to get at the charger right as close to 0 as possible. I have it plotted out now. I think I'm within 3 miles of where I want to be, and we'll see as we get a little bit closer. It warmed up a little bit. We're at 39 degrees now, so it was holding pretty steady at 32 for the first half of the range test, but now the sun came out. Now we're up to 39 degrees, so we're probably going to finish, you know, right around 40, maybe 41 degrees. It's supposed to get a little bit warmer the next hour that it's going to take for me to run that last quarter. You know, so the starting temperature was in the high 20s, and we're going to finish it right around 40 degrees. So not the coldest cold weather test, but it is what I got the car, and I can't always control when I get the cars from Porsche. It's been such a cold winter. I was really hoping to do it when we were, you know, down around 0 or in single digits, and it was like that for 3 weeks, but now it's warming up a little bit as we get towards the end of February, and this is the week I have it, so I can only run it when I get it. But it's still pretty cold. You know, we were at freezing for more than half the range test. So all right, we'll check in once I get off the highway and I have a mile or so to go to the charger, and we'll see where we're at. All right, we're on the final drive to the charger. Got off the highway about 2 miles ago, immediately got stuck in a traffic jam on Route 18. So I decided to, well, that's interesting. This has new chargers here. I've never seen them on that property. I decided to take the back route, get off of Route 18. So I'm coming up behind Walmart where the Charger is now. And I actually had a pretty good fourth quarter there. Did a little bit better than what the car was saying we're going to do. As I got closer and closer to the Charger, I noticed the predicted remaining miles was increasing a little bit. So that's good. It was warming up. It's 41 degrees now. I really think that helped out a lot. That makes a big difference when the battery warms up a little bit more. So we are pulling into the Walmart station now. Let me turn here. And looks like we're gonna finish up with 284, probably 0.7 miles, because we're at 0.6 now, or 0.6. So not bad, a little bit better than what I thought. And the consumption rate actually went up to 3 miles per kilowatt hour. It actually did that right before I got off the highway. This whole trip was on 2.9. And then, let me see if there's anything open here. Yeah, this guy's open. And then, when I was about 2 miles before getting off the turnpike, it jumped up to 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Okay, park. Let me take a picture and then we'll talk about the final stats. And there we go. Okay, so we are at 1% state of charge with no miles remaining. We've been in turtle mode now for like the last 2.5 miles. As soon as I got off the turnpike, also, as I was going through the toll plaza, it went into turtle mode and the pedal got really squishy. So it says 1% state of charge, no remaining miles, 284.6, 3.0 miles per kilowatt hour. The temperature now is 41 degrees. So that means we went, let me do the math here. So again, in each quarter, just like it always happens when I do the Porsche range tests, we went 76 miles from 100% down to 75%, 72 miles from 75 to 50, 69 miles from 50 to 25, and now 67.6, just about 68 miles from 25 down to 0. We finished up with 284.6 miles. I'm going to just round that up to 285 because we still have 1% state of charge and the vehicle was not dying. It's in turtle mode, but I for sure could drive it another 0.4 miles. And we ended up with 3 miles per kilowatt hour. And that makes sense because if we do have 97 kilowatt hour of usable capacity times 3, I think that's 291. So we finished up with 285. 6 miles short of being perfect with that. Again, I don't know how Porsche rounds up their consumption rate. It says 3.0 now, but it could be 2.98 or 2.975, something like that. And that would account for the 6 miles we didn't get. And also the battery might not be at 100% of its capacity. It is a brand new car. It's got 2,400 miles. We should have 97 kilowatt hour of usable capacity, but it could be 96.5 kilowatt hour. And in the cold weather, you don't always get to access all the kilowatt hour. And it was cold starting out today, warmed up. I mean, we had that spread from 26 degrees up to 41 degrees. So not a bad result. Right around the EPA highway range rating for this Taycan 4, which was, I think, 286, I think I said earlier. So we're like a mile from the highway rating in bad weather. And that's because the Taycans always outperform their EPA range rating. If I took the same car, matter of fact, I'll ask Porsche if they'll give it to me like in June or July. I bet you I'll go 25 miles to 30 miles, maybe more farther. I did range test the rear wheel drive 2025 Taycan, the base model, last August, 8 months ago, whatever it is, 9 months ago. And I finished up with 361 miles and a 3.7 miles per kilowatt hour average. And that vehicle's EPA range rating at 318 miles. So I beat the EPA range rating by, what's that, like 12, 13%, somewhere like that. So I would expect that I would beat this 294 as the combined EPA range rating by about the same. I'm sure I'd get in the 220s a 3 in the 320s, maybe 330 on a warm weather, good condition range test. But this was the winter, and this was the winter range test. Now I am going to try to repeat this test at 80 miles an hour and at 60 miles an hour before I have to give the car back. That'll be a separate video. I only have it for another 4 days, so I'm planning on tomorrow doing the 80 mile an hour test and then perhaps the 60 mile an hour test right after that. And I'll do a separate video comparing the different ranges at 70 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour and 80 miles an hour. So you could kind of see how much of a difference it makes if you just slow up a little bit or if you're blasting along at 80 miles an hour. I can't control the weather. It is supposed to warm up the next couple days, so it might be 10 degrees or so warmer than what we did it at here today, and that will have an effect also. So it's not going to be a perfect test, but it will give you a little bit of an idea of what you could expect with this spec vehicle with winter tires at this temperature. So that's all we have here today. I will probably have that comparison video out about a week after this. So sometime in early March, I'll have the 60, 70, and 80 mile an hour Taycan 4 comparison. And listen, thanks for coming along. If this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. And also, if you're on mobile, if you could hype the video, that helps me out a lot. Hype is a new feature that YouTube started, and the more you give the video points by hyping it, and the more points you get, the more people YouTube shows it to. So if you're on mobile and you don't mind swiping down to the comments, I think you go to the comment section and then you swipe the comment bar to the left. There should be 3 dots, and then it says hype this video. Click on that, and I'd appreciate it. And also leave any comments you have down in the comment section. And thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. All right, we got some bonus footage action today. So I plugged into this 350 kilowatt Electrify America charger, went inside the Walmart, you can see behind me here, to use the restroom after that long range test. And if you recall, the vehicle was at 1% state of charge when I arrived. Take a look at it now real quick. I don't know if you could see that. I know the refresh rate is weird here with the Electrify Americas. Can you see it's at 72% state of charge? And look at how long I've been charging for. 16 minutes. So it added 71% state of charge in 16 minutes. The Taycan is a charging beast. I've done a lot of videos on that already, and honestly, for the amount of range that pretty much all the different versions of the Taycan gets, and the incredible charging speed, it's really the best charging electric vehicle that we can get here in the US, at least. I know there's some Chinese cars that can perhaps charge faster. You know, I don't really know. I need to test it myself between the range they can provide and how much power they can put into the pack quickly. I mean, this is a 105 kilowatt hour pack, you know, around 100 kilowatt hour usable. And look, we're at 75% now in 17 minutes. So, you know, this was a cold weather range test, and I got almost 300 miles out of it. So, I mean, 75% of 300 is 225. So let's say 220 miles. 17 minutes, yeah, 220 miles of range. That is pretty freaking awesome, if you ask me.